Hello, hello, my friends. Jennifer McCollum
Hi.
here. Hello, Tess. How are you?
Hi. Good. I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you doing?
I am so good today because we are talking about a parenting reset with you. Who
Hmm.
doesn't need a reset at one point or another? I mean, I feel like this is such a great topic. And Tess, you are the reset queen, aren't you?
Yes.
We're going to get
Getting to
into
be. Absolutely.
We're going to get into your story today, and it doesn't have anything to do with that we're wearing the same shirts. I should get my same.
I know.
We could
I love that we're
totally
wearing
be
the same.
twinning.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Jen, I love it. And you know what? We didn't even plan this. We didn't plan
No.
this. We both
No.
just wore, it's
No.
just a Thursday blue stripes
It's
with our wings.
It's a stripy day. It's
It
a
is.
stripy day.
It is.
Yeah. All right, Tess, I'm going to tell everyone who you are, and then we're going to get into your story because it is so incredibly fascinating. Everyone's going to want to hear this, and I can't wait for you to tell us. So let me just tell our folks here that are watching and listening who you are, and then I'm going to let you take it away.
All right.
So Tess Connolly is a licensed clinical social worker and parent coach who provides overwhelmed and frustrated parents of tweens and teens a 5-step reset plan. And we're going to get into like what that plan is and what the 5 steps are, because you need to know these 5 steps, these reset steps. So she also gives tools and strategies. She founded a parenting reset membership, and we're also going to talk about that. So if you're interested in a reset membership, stick around to the end, because Tess is going to tell you about what that is, what's involved, what you get, and when the doors are opening again, which is soon, which is awesome. And just recently, Tess has created the Parenting Reset Show. It's a podcast, and you're going to love these stories. So she's going to share a couple of her stories today, tell us how she got here, and how she became the reset queen. So stick around to the end, because you're going to find out about this reset membership and the podcast and all that. But you know what, Tess? Tell us how you became, first of all, the reset queen, how you became the parenting reset person to go to.
Okay. In part, I stumbled on it as we were working together earlier this year, that what I've been doing, and I think this is something that I think a lot of parents do, especially when you've got younger children. I have a 12-year-old right now, but so in those younger years, you're constantly stopping and starting and stumbling and figuring it out and resetting and making shifts, right? We make shifts. Something's not working. Something's not going right. I got to make a change. We're going to make a change. So I'm kind of and I'm doing that a lot. I even had, I actually have even had a friend say that that's something that like you have all this optimism for like redoing. And I do have a lot of optimism in general. So all of that kind of redoing. And what I discovered as I was working with you, Jen, is that early in when I was 10, I have an unusual story about resetting. So I am the oldest of 5. So I was brought up in an Irish Catholic family outside of Boston. And both sides of my family have lived there, and they still do in that whole area. But my parents in the mid 70s, so this was in 1976. So I am aging myself because I was 10 years old. And my parents were reading books like the early parent effectiveness training, those kind of things. And they were reading some other books about kids. And don't just remember the context of the times. Kids were like, getting freedom. And there was, the whole movement around. My parents were to some degree hippies, but without the drugs and all that. But wanting kids to have more freedom, because we were all close in age. I'm the oldest of 5. We're all a year apart. And so there's 3 brothers and a sister at the end. They really wanted us to individuate. So after taking this class, they were starting to talk about it. They planned for it. But essentially, they took all 5 of us, put us in the back of a truck because my dad worked as a mason. So he had lots of trucks, and drove us to the woods of New Hampshire from the suburbs of Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay, stop
And
right there for a second, because
yes.
so many questions come up, and I do know a bit of this story.
Okay.
But I just want to say kudos to your parents, like that they were so progressive with their parenting. Like, who read parenting books
Yes.
back then? Like,
Well, exactly. And when I
wow.
interviewed them for my podcast, I learned something now at 55 that I didn't know. I knew some of this, but I remember seeing that book lying around when I was a kid, this PET, and it was a paperback book. But they told me they had been reading some other things. So that's on the podcast, but they went into how they were thinking, and they really also, and I'm guessing this is also common for a lot of families that I've heard and worked with, are you've got you may have relatives and other family members around you, and if your values are different than your family members, or let's just say you're raising kids, the grandparents, and that's something that was going on with them. Although I adored my grandparents, some of the influences that were coming in, and they were so close by, they were about 20 minutes away as young kids. And my parents were starting to feel, we really want you kids to be able to grow up under our values. And so how do we do that? Now, they did it extremely right. They bought 10 acres of land, literally in the deep woods of New Hampshire, and brought us there. And I didn't, and I'll let everyone know that when they got us there in these trucks and cars and all that, we had no home. Okay, we're going on to like 5 acres of field, surrounded by 5 acres of woods, down a 2-mile dirt road. We had to build the bridge to get to the property, or you just barely made it because there were just these 2 big struts that you had to make sure the car stayed on to get. So we had to build a bridge to get to the property. There was no electricity. There was no running water. There was no home. Okay. And you have 5 kids, 10, 9, 8, 7, I think, and 5 years old, going up there. Okay.
What an immense reset. Like, they just went, nope, we don't want these influences.
We want them, but we want them a little bit of distance. We want our values to matter. Yeah. We had been reading, and my dad took a class, apparently parent effectiveness training. We wanted you to individuate. I'm using their language that they use. And when I interviewed them in the podcast, they're saying this, we wanted more freedom for you to grow up in. And we really didn't want the lifestyle and the context of what I was in the suburbs of Boston. And at that time, I guess the high school wasn't a very good high school. It wasn't accredited. That was something they were thinking ahead of. There were drugs around. I'm in a suburb, right, where you could walk around and people stop, and they kind of wanted to remove some of that. So even though
beautiful. And so they put you in a truck and they took you out to 10 acres in the woods. Okay. And then tell us what happened.
And then what happened is that we were living in tents and in one trailer, in one like tent trailer. All 5 kids are in one. And it had that little cooking stove in the middle there. That's what we cooked on. In the other tent right across the way were my parents. And then they reminded me, I remembered some of this after I talked to them, another tent for like all of our clothes. Just think of it, you go into a tent, it has racks of like the clothes. And then we created a little like outhouse out in the woods, and they dug that up and all of that. So for a while, we literally lived like this. It was the summer, which helped in New England because we weren't into winter yet. And we eventually did build within, I want to say it had to have been within 6 months, because we weren't outside in the full on winter. But we did get friends and other family members to help and just put up the structure of what was supposed to be the barn. But then it became our home, and we just had to get in it. We got in it with, then we had to heat with a wood stove and chop wood. And we also had to deal with, mud season where you can't drive up the driveway at all. You can't do that. So it was, they did not, and they know this now, they'll say this now, they did. Hold on one second. I think my speaker, hold on one second.
Sure.
The speaker just went out, and I'm fixing it. Okay.
All right.
Okay. And it's not coming back on. Hold on one second. I'm going to adjust it, see what I can get.
I can hear you.
Hear me?
Yeah, I can
Okay.
hear you loud and clear. You sound
Okay.
great.
All right. Then we're going to keep going. It's not on this mic then. And that's totally fine. If you can hear me, I'm going to keep going.
Then we're really twinning because I don't have my good mic on either. I've just got
Good.
the so
Okay. Then look, I can do this. I'm free without it. Okay.
woohoo!
So,
Okay.
so they essentially we got into a house very quickly that really it became our house, but the living was really hard. It was not easy, but they really wanted us to have this way of growing up together, relying on, this is how they described it, relying on each other, seeing the work that my dad did. He did physical work. He built chimneys and was a mason. So we also went to work with him at different times and watching how he was living. He said he did not want to just come back home every day and have you kids see me and not know the work that I was doing every day. So we learned the values of, which I agree, decades later, hard work, cooperation, and working together. That was a constant in our family meetings about working together. We really had to. We relied on each other as playmates for the longest time. We had to deal with elements there that things like hunting season started pretty quickly. I mean, and like we're out in rural, New Hampshire. So my parents had to post things that there were children around. We would have to wear the orange vests and the orange hats, walking the half mile to the school bus that my mother had to petition the PTA for to get the school board to get the bus up there. So we lived really with each other and with the land and having to really take care of each other, take care of our basic needs. I mean, during the winter, it was like sometimes lugging groceries in on a sled down a good half mile or so because the trucks or whatever, until we had big plows, could not get through. So you just had to do that. So the living was sort of hard. We relied on each other. We did have chores. They were unusual things like go hoe in the mud ruts, go chop some wood, stack the wood over there, bring that kind of stuff in. But I will say that for all of my siblings, because I've talked to them about this, and for me myself, I mean, it has built character around who we are, and the importance and the value of working together, cooperating in a family, how to do that, what does that look like. And even though that was a huge reset, even during that time, there were so many times my parents used like things that I use in my practice now, but family meetings to kind of reset. And how do you do that? How do you make a change when it's just been going along? How do I start to do that? We used to sit down and have those meetings like, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to change. We got to do something about this. And so,
your whole that story, and every time I hear it, Tess, it's like I just want to hear more. I want to know more. I have goosebumps. I don't know about those that are watching or listening right now, but I bet you there's a lot of people out there that are ready to move to the woods.
oh
Like
my gosh.
that are ready to say yes, we want the cooperation. We want the, siblings to get along, to work hard, to have those characteristics so your parents are amazing. I hope that you let them know from
I
me
did.
and everyone like just how amazing they are. So that wasn't the first time that was the first time that a reset happened in your life.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
wasn't the last time. And this is what made you like the parenting reset queen, the one to go to.
Yes.
So tell us about and I do want to hear more of that story, but I want people to go to your podcast and hear it.
Yep. And that will be my
share.
first episode on that podcast.
That's
is going
wonderful.
to be that story in a little bit more detail and talking a little bit about more of that. And then I talk with my parents, which is, as I told you earlier, but it was comical doing a podcast episode with my parents and then having them talk about it. But it was really fun and it was revealing. Even now, I learned things I didn't know. I didn't even know what they were doing.
And I bet you the more you talk about it, you will learn something new every time. So I want all of those that hear this right now, hear Tess talking about this, to go to her podcast. And I'll make sure to leave that in the notes where they can find your podcast, how to find you. But I do want to talk about the other resets in your life. And then I want to share your actual reset plan, because I think that's important
Yep.
for parents to know, like, there is a plan. You can do this
Yes.
too in your family, not maybe as drastic as moving to the woods with 5 kids and
Yeah.
no house or bathroom, but but how they can do it just
Or water.
or water, yeah, and
Yeah.
hunting season. Wow.
I know. All of it.
So,
Yes.
so tell us another time in your life that, the reset has happened and led you to where what you're doing right now.
So the other time that's probably most relevant and most near to this time was about 6 years ago when I moved from San Francisco to Marin County, where I'm living now, and I got divorced. And that was a huge reset. And definitely that's a reset. I think that, you know, it's a significant time. It's a crisis. And what I really did at that time is to make sure that, and I knew at that moment when it was going on, and being in the mental health field, I knew what I needed to do. I knew that I needed to make sure I remained calm at that time, but also get an understanding of kind of what was going to need to change in my family.
Mhm.
So it was my son and his dad and I, but now it was going to look different. Now it was going to be my son and I, who is 6 years old, because he's 12 now. Dad's living nearby, but that was going to be a complete shift that I needed to make. So I really focused on redefining our family and what that looked like, and really making sure that there wasn't, even though it felt, it's really hard. It's a crisis. It's a really tough time, but making sure there was no shame, normalizing that 50% of the people get divorced, but normalizing that it's okay that our family looks a little different and it's changed. I really tried to normalize that. I tried to then build community around us, because we were also new into a community. He had just started kindergarten. So I really wanted to make sure that I created the community supports around him to support him, and then also support myself as a single mother, and in a community that doesn't have a lot of single parents. So I really actively, unfortunately, I had a good therapist then, and I was also in a group. So I really did that, where I created kind of my own path through this very difficult time. So that was a huge reset. And in that, I really found, as I moved through that, ways that families can also do resets. So taking a look. So I did more like, I do a lot of intentional family planning, meaning we don't always do this, but when we have times to sit down as a family, and I did this even with my 6-year-old, and some people will be like, what? But I talked about our values. What does it mean to be in this family? What do we value? And even having his input, and even as young as that, he might've said, I don't know, I don't even remember what he said then. Now he would say something at 12 different, but he knows, like, what are the important values in our family, and actually writing those down. I put those on our family meeting sheet, like what our values are. So and we're not making it long, it's simple. We value connection and relationship. We value time together. What does that look like? Just something, maybe like 4 to 5 points. And then I talked about my responsibilities as a mother at that time and what I was going to be doing. So being very intentional and explicit with him. I also think that provides safety for kids, especially young kids, when they're going through any kind of crisis or shift. And then we also put down his responsibilities, what he needed to do. At 6 and 7, that looked different than 12. So, he's got a lot more responsibilities now and they look different. But overall, that was another big reset that I had. Mm-hmm. And it not only was an opportunity to kind of take a look at what was going on for myself and then in my own family, but shift it and direct it and make it positive, make it into something positive. I also got involved in his school. I did a lot within the school, and I think that was really, really helpful. I'm so happy that I can't believe I'm saying this, but the president of the PTA for 2 years. That was a lot of work, but it's a great way to get infused into your young child's elementary years, because I had paid attention to all the parents coming before me saying, it goes by so fast, it goes by so fast, and they're going to be teens. And once you're in the middle school teen years, you're not getting involved in like how things are, you're not the PTAs tend not to be as involved. You're not getting in the classroom. So I really got involved in that way. And it allowed for us to have this expanded, extended community around us that kind of supported us.
I think it's beautiful, Tess. Like you took a situation that is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
You realized that you could reset and still have a positive. And I know you still have a great relationship, with your ex and with your son.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful
Yeah.
relationship with your son. Like
He's a sweetie.
you'll see Tess online. Most of them are at his baseball game, and it's really awesome what you
Yeah.
do, and how you were able to take a really difficult situation, do a reset, and also to take that shame away. Like
Yes.
you're right, like 50% of families like get divorced, but
Yep.
not every family looks the same. And you really took that shame or the guilt and everything
Yep.
away and said, you know what, I can reset. And it's probably coming from your childhood where, you know what,
Yes.
everything we know and love right now, it can
Yes.
shift and be
Yes.
something great as well.
Yeah,
So
exactly. It's going to be, it was hard. Like the woods, the experience of physically, I mean, my parents will say that, I would say it too, but physically demanding to live like that,
mhm,
right? But there's a benefit to that. And then again, when I did this reset after my divorce, is that even though it was a crisis, it was very, there was so much going on. And, but finding a way to get through it and let him know that, you know, this is, we're going to make it look different. It's okay. And it didn't have to be like this dreaded, just horribleness that would affect the rest of his life. And it really hasn't. And he'll say, I think even to this day, he will at different times wish mom and dad were together so we can openly talk about that. But he also loves having he will say, I love having the two homes. I get two Christmases. And he knows that both parents love and adore him.
mhm,
You know,
mhm.
he's thriving. So
So
that part is,
those situations, Tess, and thank you for sharing them with us, they
yeah.
led you to who you are and what you're doing now. So can you tell us now about your Parenting Reset membership and
Yeah.
why you created it and what it's about? Because, I want you to just clarify, does someone have to be going through a divorce? Do they have to have tweens and teens? I know we talked about that. So like
Yep.
who is this for, what's involved, and just tell us about it.
Okay. So the Parenting Reset membership, I just started in late May of 2021. So just a few months ago. And I've got some wonderful founding members in that membership. And so really what it is for parents of tweens and teens. I did have people at that time want to jump on and they had toddlers. And I was like, that just, it's not gonna fit in this group. I kept it really a little tighter to the tween, really about 9 or 10 years old until 17. And
Mhm,
that helps to keep that developmental place so that parents that are in this membership know, okay, I'm going to be getting some support and, connection with other parents, but have the same development. Their kids are in the same developmental place. And
mhm,
so what I'm providing in there is really, I'm going through all of my core content of my parenting reset paths. So I have like a 5-step parenting reset path, and reset actually stands for, can I go through that now?
yeah, I would love you to. So
Okay.
reset is the 5 steps, just
Reset is the
yeah.
RESET, right?
So
Okay.
tell us about each step and just briefly, and then we'll make
Yeah.
sure that all of the watchers and listeners have the links to go check out more after.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. So reset stands for, the R is for review, looking at kind of what's going on when I've got a parent coming to me, what's happening in the family, what are the main pain points? What are you struggling with? What's the most difficult thing that's facing you right there? I think that's always the best thing to kind of grab a hold of and go from there rather than listing the other 10 things that are going on, but grabbing a hold of the main pain points and the main struggles. So reviewing kind of what's going on. The
Mhm,
E is for evaluating. So that takes a look a little bit more into a little bit more of that pain point and what that struggle may be for parents, but really going in a little bit deeper around parenting, kind of how the parents are parenting, what's going on in terms of your parenting style versus your partners. I know this has come up with some parents that I'm working with. So that's coming up. The values are sometimes different, especially as kids get older into the tweens and teen years. Parents have different ideas. Like maybe when they were 6 or 7, you both agreed that, they'll eat at this time, they have this much screen time, whatever it is. They get older, and then you've got also a little person who's getting bigger and having more of a voice. And sometimes certain parents are responding and reacting and kind of based on some of their own ways of growing up about how to parent. So the styles are different. Sometimes your values are different and they can shift at different developmental places. So evaluating is really looking at that. I also ask parents to really take a look at self-care, what they're doing to take care of themselves. And then we also talk about how they define family. What does family mean to you? And what does that look like? So it's kind of a good place to look through kind of what's been happening and evaluate. The S is for the systems and strategies. So here's where we get into the meat of everything of like what to do. And those are things like the family meetings. I talk about language and communication a lot because I think that is so important, especially with this age. I talk about flexibility and boundaries because again, it's important at this age. It's going to come up more. And I'm really getting into boundaries even more so right now myself. I think it's really important. And I also stay focused on the connection and relationship building. So that is really one of the most important things, especially if parents are coming and wanting more cooperation around different things. I go back first to taking a look at, we can certainly put together a plan, right? To deal with them, to follow through with the chores or something like that. Where is the relationship? How's the connection going? Do you have time where you actually just spend a little bit of time, maybe every day, but at least weekly with your tween or teen, like doing something together that you really like? This is building the relationship. You build that relationship and that connection, I can guarantee you, you're going to get more cooperation. It's going to happen. They're going to want to have that with that kind of relationship. So in the systems and strategies, I go through a variety of different things, but those are some of them. And the E stands for execute or implement. This is the how to do all of that. And I talk about, not only do I continue to talk about language and communication, but my 3 C's, which are like remaining calm, consistent to increase cooperation. So just remaining calm throughout some of this. There have been some parents that I've worked with, and there's been a style of communicating that maybe had worked when they were younger, but is not working as they get to be at this age of puberty, and there's hormones with them. The brain is exponentially growing. So there needs to be a shift in like maybe how we parent. So I talk about that. And part of doing that too is also talking about the development and timing of how and what we're doing and when. That gets, the timing of things gets really, I think gets trickier with teens because they really need to have a little bit more control, and it's okay to give them a little more control on when things happen or how things happen, and giving them a little bit more opportunity to have some autonomy in some ways. And the T is for the transformation in Reset. That is what it's going to look like after you've gone through this path, you've made some shifts, you've implemented, you've stayed calm and consistent, and you've taken care of yourself. And it really is the shift and the change and how things are not only going in your home and things may be more peaceful, but the relationship with your child is feeling better and you feel more connected, and you're going to bed at night, like just ease of like, okay, we're okay. The relationship's good. Everything may not be perfect, but we're moving along. And that's it in a nutshell.
I feel like calmer just having you go through that. Yes, transformation. That's what I want. We got to get to the T and Reset.
Yes.
That is so great. So your parenting Reset membership then, what happens inside the membership? So you've got parents of tweens and teens. Doesn't matter what's going on with them?
So what we do is I've got a couple different things that I'm doing with them. So I'm going through this. So that content that I just reviewed with you, we are going through that content each week. So I'm putting out a video and putting out some information for them to read about the 5 steps. I am also doing a live Q&A every week. So they can hop on, and I have this format, which I love because, we're all doing our Zoom stuff. This is sort of like an open Zoom all the time. They can get onto my app. So it's on Circle. It's a platform for memberships. You get it right on your phone. It has a single sign on, which I love, which means you just put your finger on there and you're in. You don't have to think about your password. You're in, and you can go right to a live Q&A with me every week. And I put out when those are going to be, and you just click the button. It's not like you have to like look for the email and find where's that Zoom link. It's not that. You just click it. I'm on the other screen, and then we're doing video, but we can talk about whatever's kind of coming up at that moment. So I've got the live Q&As. I'm putting out the content each week. And then we also have, which has been really special, the Sunday circles. So once a month, we have a Sunday circle. And I picked a time that seems to work for a lot of parents, which is wonderful, like 4 o'clock on a Sunday. You know, you've done all the stuff for the kids, you've had your family time, and it's before dinner. And it's just a nice time to sit down with other parents. And we do use Zoom for this because it's a little bit easier to use that. And we've gotten together and we're bringing up topics that have been brought up from some of the parents to talk about. So probably 2 different topics. But I start with a meditation, a little meditation and a poem about whatever we're going to be talking about. It's kind of relevant to whatever that topic is. And we just had one last Sunday and it was wonderful. We actually talked about parenting with different parenting styles. So one person was bringing something up and I let the parents that are in there decide how much to bring up, but there'd been some things going on and there's definitely some different values and how to manage that. And everyone gave some input to that person about how we could do that. I gave some input and it was wonderful. And then we had our other topic was, how to continue to keep the bridge, keep things open and have your teen stay open and communicating with you, even though they've made a bad choice. And they've talked to you about something, but how do I keep that going, even though there are consequences to that choice that they made?
Right.
So that was the other topic. That's what we're doing. We're doing that. And we're doing monthly virtual meetings that are more like the social thing, like chit chat, who are you, bringing glass of wine, hanging out kind of stuff. So those are the components right now, but I'm continuing to build it. And I have a couple experts that are going to come on and talk to us about parenting on the same page. And also talking about like a little bit of mental health stuff with anxiety and depression with teens and that kind of stuff.
That sounds so good. Like it's a great mix of, you know, the calming meditation, the connection to other parents, the learning, and, you know, just exploring new perspectives. So I love that. And tell us now, your doors are not always open for this membership, but they are going to be open soon.
They are going to open. So what I'm going to do is I'm doing a big launch, and that'll happen probably very late September is going to be my next big launch. But what I had decided to do coming up in September is to do, now I've got founding members that have already started, which is great. I've got the core group, but I'm going to open it up in the month of September because I know that there are some people asking about when they can get in. I think school starting has ramped up all of this, some of the struggles and things going on. And so in September, I'm going to do an early bird. I'm going to keep it open for early bird members, meaning it's just going to happen just for a few weeks before I do the launch so that people can get in and see what we've got going on in there. Try to get some support and connection if that's what, you know, if there's something going on, or I'm also available for one-to-one coaching as well. So I'm always open for that.
Yeah, I did want to make sure that we mentioned that too. So if, you know, the membership is not quite right, or you need help immediately, you do have one-to-one parent coaching available.
I do. Yep. I've got the one-to-one coaching. And what I'm going to do with the launch is not only open up the members, but I'm going to have about 5 slots for parents that want to have the one-to-one coaching each month and do the membership support, having the connection and having that available. Because what's great about the membership is you've got something that happened on Tuesday, and Tuesday night you can just hop onto that live Q&A and ask me whatever has gone on, and just a little quick fix around shifting something. So yeah, I was going to do that for parents that want to do a little bit of individual, but also have the membership as well.
That's so great. So we'll leave those links below for anyone that's interested in that. So, Tess, I know we're running out of time and I could talk to you forever because you were just so knowledgeable about, just how to support families. So I hope that you do get some parents reaching out to you and joining your Reset membership or looking to you for one-to-one support because I know how incredible you are. I want to leave our audience with something they can do right now. Is there any one thing that you can think of that you want to leave us with just to ponder or implement in our family right now that could really start us on a non-judgmental, shameless reset?
Okay. I'm going to go back to my foundation, which I've already brought up. But if there's one thing that's going to really help everything that you're kind of could be going through from the most part, is building the connection with your child. I think that is most important. And what does that look like? That may sound like, oh my God, that's a lot. That's a long haul. It is a long haul, but it requires those little steps every single day. So if parents can every day do have 10, 15 minutes with their tween or teen, just checking in. I've spent time with my kid just casually. I'll come over to him on the sofa. He's scrolling through his Snapchat, right? And I'll sometimes look and I know some of them and we connect. And then he showed me his TikTok. So I'm involved in his world and what he's doing, but just having some kind of connection, whether it's actually you're playing a game or you're walking the dog together, or you're even taking a drive and you're just chatting on the way to doing errands, a way to have some kind of connection and preferably into their world and what's going on with them so that they know you're still there. I'm here. I'm interested. And you're, as we kind of pull back in these teen years from holding them tight, I would say definitely having some special time, some one-on-one time, whatever that looks like for parents. I know some have like 4 kids, and if you can do 10 minutes here, or maybe it's a bedtime situation with one, or it's driving to the store with the other, those moments are going to matter.
I think with my kids, it would be driving to the store for ice cream with all 4 of them.
Yes.
But one at a time. So
right.
that's going to be a lot of drive. And we're in the middle of nowhere.
And that's going to be a lot of ice cream for you.
Maybe we could walk to the freezer together, but yes. No, it's great, great advice. Thank you. Okay. Tell us your website address. Yes.
Okay. So my website is Mindful Kids and Families, all one word. So Mindful Kids and Families, that's my umbrella. And then I've got my Parenting Reset show podcast coming out. It'll be coming out probably within the next week. So I'm excited about that. And I've got some great guests already on and lined up to go to support parents of tweens and teens. And I'm on Instagram and Facebook as Mindful Kids and Families. So I'm active there, and that's where they can find me.
That's so awesome. And I'll drop those links below as well. Great. Thank you so much, Tess, for being
here. You're welcome. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you. We're all ready for a reset. So thank you for sharing all your goodness with us.
Thank you.